Om Sahana Bhavato Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Om. May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling toward each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Immediately after the investment of the sacred thread, there was a tremendous change in the very outlook of Sri Ramakrishna. So just I will read out a little bit. The development of Gadadhar's faculties, Bhava Samadhi for the third time. Since then, means since after this Upanayana, sacred thread ceremony has taken place, the boy had looked upon that family deity, means Sri Rama, Raghuvira, with great devotion and reverence. Now that he had the privilege of touching and worshipping that God, his heart was filled with a new fervor of devotion. It was not long before his intense devotion bore fruit. The pure heart of the boy became so much absorbed in that worship that he experienced the state of Bhava Samadhi or Savikalpa Samadhi. And after this experience, various spiritual visions came to him from time to time. He had this kind of Samadhi and vision on the Shivaratri of that year. This is one of the highest spiritual achievements. We have been discussing this Patanjali Yoga Sutra for the last so many classes. They said there are two types of Samadhi. What is the preliminary? Savikalpa. And Sri Ramakrishna had attained to that Savikalpa Samadhi right at home as soon as his Upanayana or sacred thread ceremony has become concluded. What a marvelous thing it is. How few people have this kind of development. It is unbelievable. In this regard, what we have to understand one thing. From the very birth, Gadadhar, we use this word Sri Ramakrishna and Gadadhar synonymously, he had one very peculiar quality, that is, whatever he does, he would become totally absorbed in it. There is no question of 10% getting absorbed, 50% getting absorbed, 90% getting absorbed, 100%. How do we know? Because when he was listening to devotional songs, and he would merge in that song. Very interesting. Suppose he is hearing, let us take one example. Shakali tomari ichha. O mother, everything is thy will. What does it mean to merge oneself in that particular song? Every day we are singing Khandana, Bhava Bandhana. All over the world, millions of people, every single day, wherever devotees of Sri Ramakrishna are there, they are listening. So take only that first few words, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. And then it comes, Vande Tomai, I salute you. Why? Because you are the breaker of bondage. If Sri Ramakrishna is the breaker of bondage, what am I to worry about? Because all my bondages are broken. What is a bondage? Anything that limits me, anything that hampers my happiness, anything that does not promote my happiness is a bondage. You call it, if it is a worldly object, we call it worldly bondage. And if it is a spiritual object, we call it spiritual bondage. What is spiritual bondage? Avidya. That means not knowing what the truth is. We are hearing it. First of all, we don't get absorbed. Secondly, we don't want to get absorbed because it brings a conflict between the type of life, not only the type of life we are living, but the type of life we envisage we want to live. But when Sri Ramakrishna hears, what is the first thing he does? He listens to every single letter of the song. Second, he will understand the meaning of every single word that is there. Thirdly, he takes it as an instruction. This is what I am supposed to live. If he listens to this as an example, Sakali Tomari Ichha, everything is thy will. From that day onwards, he will try to live that kind of life where everything is done after the will of God. This is called absorption, total absorption. If he is seeing the form of God, he will be merged in that form of God. That example comes when Sri Ramakrishna as a young boy was being taken to the temple of Shalakshi. Third example is when he had put on the Shiva's dress, and extensively we discussed what a dress does. So one point, I do not know whether I discussed it or not, is very important. Dress often makes us what the dress is about. So if we say fashionable dress, what is fashionable dress? It's a beautiful dress. What is a beautiful dress? That which diverts other people's attention only towards me. Ah, what a beautiful person he is. So the dress, like our thought, also makes us identify along with that dress. Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful example of this. The moment a person learns a bit of English, then he starts singing the tunes a bit like that, and he while jumping up, going upstairs like that to 2 steps at a time, he behaves like that. So dress has tremendous effect upon us, but not in the intended way. Dress has tremendous effect upon Sri Ramakrishna in the intended way. What does that mean? If he dresses like the Divine Mother, he feels oneness with Divine Mother. If he dressed like Shiva, then he became totally absorbed like Shiva. Important point is, he did not even open his mouth. You know that incident? He just entered into the stage in that dress. By that time he just could reach the middle of the stage, he was already one. Very interesting description was there. Many people were charmed, because what does that mean? Even though they are all villagers, in the sense they are not very educated, they could feel the holiness that's being emanating from Sri Ramakrishna's body. But apart from that, everybody didn't feel it. There were some people who were criticizing him. He said, Gadai had spoiled the whole show. But our point is, he dressed like that and he became one with the feeling of that dress. I am Shiva. I am putting on Shiva's dress. And Sri Ramakrishna also gives an example, if you remember, once a man acted in a drama, the role of a monk. And then someone wanted to offer you remember that incident. So, that actor must be extraordinarily good actor to have that principle that as a monk, I should not accept anything. Sri Ramakrishna was a supreme personification that he would be absorbed. If he is reading, he will be absorbed. If he is talking also, he is very conscious what he is talking about. That is a very important point. So as soon as he was invested with this sacred thread, and the point here also, even a Brahmin boy is not allowed to do normal rituals until he is invested with this sacred thread. Only then he is allowed. They could enter into the shrine room, but they cannot perform the worship, puja, etc. An initiation is necessary. If you still remember, when Sri Ramakrishna came to the Dakshineshwar temple, his eldest brother had taken in charge of him, and he wanted to hand over that charge to his youngest brother, he had to be initiated into the Kali mantra because he was going to worship Kali. Then you may ask, was the same thing applied to when, because first he became Pujari of Ramakrishna? No, there was no necessity because already he was a Vaishnava. Any Brahmin could do it. But for doing Kali Puja, a special initiation is necessary. Why? Because Kali Puja is done according to Tantric system. And also, maybe there is a plan by the Divine Mother for the future, because he had to do a special Tantric sadhana under the able guidance of Bhairavi Brahmani. Though he did not know anything about it, but he had to be initiated into that mantra, special mantra. So that's a very important point. When the time comes, we will talk about it. As soon as he got to sacred thread, now he is permitted, he could go and worship. And the moment he started worshiping, tremendous reverence had welled up. Also he heard so many stories how this deity came into his home. You remember, his father was walking. One noon, somewhere he was sleeping and he had a dream. In the dream, Raghuvir appeared to him and said, I am lying here, no one is taking care of me, please take me home and you worship me. And that was how he came. The moment Raghuvir entered into their homes, it is said, the prosperity increased. So naturally, people will be very grateful. It is God's grace that made us live this good life. And that gratefulness was there. And then he also heard what type of visions his father used to have while worshipping Raghuvira. He had a vision of Mother Sitala and all that. If he had the vision of Mother Sitala, did he have vision of Ramachandra also? He must be having. The whole point is, how much do we know about the life of Kshudiram? Excepting these few incidents, what other visions he had? We know this dream. How many dreams? At Gaya, he had this dream. And here he had this kind of dream. He must be having plenty of these kind of dreams. And how many actual visions he had, we simply have no information. But definitely he must have had. Maybe he had narrated these experiences, some of them at least, to his son Gadadhar. So now Gadadhar had the, this is the deity who bestowed his grace upon my father, and wholeheartedly he started worshipping. It was then that very soon, within a few days, he had this Savikalpa Samadhi. Now you lead those incidents. As soon as Totapuri came, initiated him, instructed him, asked him to sit and enter into meditation, and Totapuri could not imagine that what he had achieved by the effort of 40 years on the banks of the Narmada, this man is going to get almost immediately. So he expected him, he will make attempts at meditation. But he was astounded. Within a few hours, he was totally absorbed in, completely one. And 3 days passed, as you know, and he didn't come out. And after 3 days, Totapuri entered into that hut and saw him exactly how he had seen Gadadhar, this young man, 3 days before instructing how to sit and meditate, exactly in the same position. Then he got a doubt. We are jumping to the future, but the connection is there. What is the connection? That he was so fit, so capable, so prepared. The moment instruction was given, he became absorbed in it. That capacity to get absorbed in oneself did not come at that time. It started right before here, from the childhood. So Savikalpa Samadhi is one of the great things. Then says, after that, frequently he had this kind of Samadhi, and Shivaratri after the experience was after that. Savikalpa Samadhi, there is a very thin separation between the individual soul and the Paramatma, divine. Nirvikalpa, there is absolutely no difference. In this connection, I can also tell you something. Sadhana proceeds in 3 steps. The first step is to deny that this world, I am not this world. Okay, first of all you have to say there are 3 things. Jiva means individual soul. Jagat means this world. And Ishvara or Paramatma. In this whole life, we only get these 3 things. Me, God and this world, triangle. Okay, what is our condition now? That we are totally identified with the world. Not directly, but through the instrument of this body. You see, this is a most important subject. How do we experience the world? Through our senses. We don't know what is outside, but all the information we get is through these 5 sense organs. That's why whatever we like, whatever we hate, it all is related to our body and mind. If something brings happiness to my body and mind, then that becomes dear to me. And so if someone says, I love my husband, I love my wife, what does it mean? Does the person really love? Say, husband says, I love my wife, my child, my son. Can he directly love the son or the wife? No. It is only through his body. Through his body, that's all. So body, mind is the only world that we really know. And we are attached only to this. So what is the important point? If anyone says that I am attached to the world, what he means is I am attached to the body and I am attached to the mind. You see the point? So the first preparatory sadhana is to say I am detaching myself from the world. Previously I am attached to the world. Now I am totally detached from the world. Now this jiva is in a very peculiar position now. He had taken the first step. What is the first step? That I am separate from the world. But at the same time, he also has to say, I am separate from God. You see, previously, I am one with the world, means with the body mind, and I am separate from God. Now he has acquired that special sense that I am not the body mind, but I am not Paramatma. This is the first step. The second step is, then who am I? Actually, we can be called jivas only when we reach this state. We cannot be called jivas in the now as we are now. As we are now, we have to be called, you are a body, you are a mind. That's it. Body, mind complex. Because when you are asked your CV, what CV do you give? Body, mind. Your qualifications, your educational qualifications, your age, and all those things. Okay. The second step of the sadhana is to identify oneself with Paramatma. So, I am a servant of God, I am a child of God, I am a friend of God, etc. I and God, there is an intimate relationship. I belong to God. The highest of such relationships is I am God. This is the second step. I am God, but this world is still there. The anatma is still there. What is the third step? Now you have to resolve what is this relationship between God and the world. And that is the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. Savikalpa Samadhi means I am separate from the world, means I am not body and mind. I am individual soul, consciousness related to God. But still the world is there. We cannot ignore it. Now the third step is, it is the same Parabrahma or Brahman which is expressing itself, manifesting as the world with name and form. That means what? There are no two things. There is only one thing. Are you able to follow my argument, what I am saying? Thotapuri reached the second stage, but the world is a problem. He says, I will not enter into this temple. It is all Divine Mother. Like that.
Thotapuri, when that man came to get his fire,
he got angry.
Yeah, because of this.
Because of this, because there is something, that means unconsciously he got angry. Now to get angry, there must be somebody, some experience. Experience means duality. So this Totapuri, he knew that I am pure consciousness. But he did not know what is the nature of this world. That's where Divine Mother had to made him stay for 11 months. Such a marvelous subject for meditation. What was he doing 11 months? Staying with Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was preparing him for this highest state of experience by his mere presence and by his behavior.
Actually, Sri Ramakrishna was his guru.
Yes, he was his guru. If that type of gurudom had come much earlier, so he used to clap. Totapuri used to ridicule. Then Sri Ramakrishna used to say, I am taking mother's name and you are doing this. When Sri Ramakrishna says, I am taking mother's name, what did he mean by mother? What did he mean by mother? I am worshipping Parabrahman who is manifesting in the form of this world. For Sri Ramakrishna, the whole world is what he used to call Shakti, is none other than Brahman. He knew the identity, but Totapuri did not know. He rejected Shakti. That's why he had to suffer also. Whoever rejects Shakti, they will suffer. Swamiji also had to suffer a lot because in the initial stages he rejected Shakti. He did not want to go to the temples and he was criticizing everybody as though he knew everything. And for that heavily he had to pay later on. Yeah, Totapuri also had to pay. But after 11 months, Totapuri must have learnt a lot from Sri Ramakrishna, though Sri Ramakrishna never taught directly. It's all through example, action. Occasionally he used to give him also a little bit. He was very good at it. Ultimately the time came when he was ready for the experience. So one of the questions that we can ask, so why did not the Divine Mother give him that experience? On the fourth day, 3 days he said, I will stay here. And third day itself she could have given because his job was over. His duty was over. What was his duty? To initiate Sri Ramakrishna into sannyasa and to instruct him. And thereby Sri Ramakrishna entered into the Dashanami Sampradaya, traditional monastic lineage. And his job was over. But his job was over so far Sri Ramakrishna was concerned. But his self-development was not over. That was still remaining because his realization was not complete. What is complete realization? There is only one reality. It is called Brahman. Then what is this world? Is this something different from Brahman? No. This world is also another name for Brahman. Brahman with name and form is called world. World without name and form is called Brahman. Instead of saying world, Sri Ramakrishna used that technical word Shakti, comprising of everything. Brahman and Shakti and obverse and reverse of the same kind. That's why he says Brahman looked at without any activity is called Brahman. And Brahman looked at with activity. Activity means Srishti Sthiti Vinashanam Shakti Bhute Sanatane is called Shakti. That wisdom Divine Mother had given him. Totapuri did not have that wisdom. He had only first wisdom. Everything is Brahman. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Brahma Satyam he knew. Jagat Mithya he knew. Jivo Brahmaiva na Paraha he knew. But Brahma Mithya, Jagat Mithya means what? Mithya means what?
Non-existent.
No. You see, that's why many times I have discussed this point. Non-existing thing doesn't exist. So what is Mithya means? Only partially knowing what is the truth. So you are looking at a rope and you are mistaking it as a snake. So what is the first point we have to understand here? Had there been no rope, there would not have been any snake also. The man, when he is staring at that so-called snake, he is really staring at what? At the rope only. So he knows there is something. But there is a rope is a truth known to person who knows about it. But there is a snake, that is called mithya. He is looking at the rope Some aspect of the rope he is experiencing. Which aspect of the rope? There is. No, there is. But that any experience we have, I will elaborate a little bit because this is a most wonderful Advaitic truth. Here is a table. So here is a table. And what is this? Here is a book. And here is a chair. What is the common thing in these three?
All existence.
Is common. Now you understand? Where is the difference? Table, chair, book, that is where the difference is there. There is a rope and there is a snake. There is a common thing between these two. There is. That even the man who mistakes also knows there is. You cannot say it is non-existent. Because if it is non-existent, you cannot experience anything at all. So that partial experience of what he is seeing and mistaking it as something else is called mithya. So mithya is not non-existence. It is mistaking existence, partial 50% understanding correctly, 50% mistaking it for something else. The mistake is not in the object, the mistake is in the mind, not even in the experience. Your eyes will not show you that it is a snake. It is your mind which interprets that. This is a very interesting example. Suppose two people come and you are able to see them, both of them. And one person you smile, another person you turn away your face. Why? Because both are persons only. If a third person stranger comes, when he looks at both of them, first time he is seeing, his mind is pure mind. What is pure mind? Unbiased mind, but he is looking at, there are two persons. You are looking at, you are not merely saying there are two persons. Say there is a friend and there is an enemy. Now you see what I am driving at. Your sense organs are not saying this is a friend and this is enemy. Your eye doesn't know who is a friend and who is an enemy. But it is your mind is misinterpreting as this is a friend because of past experiences. So, Totapuri, he is looking at the world all right. How do we know? Because he has seen this temple servant coming and then taking the fire. He knows by that his eyesight is quite good. But drishti saaf nahi hai. His sight is not pure. So this is a sacred fire and this fellow is making it unsacred. Interesting, because can anybody make fire impure? Is there something called impure? In fact, any impurity put in the fire, what does it become? Pure. What does it matter? It is all in the mind. Then Sri Ramakrishna started laughing, witnessing this incident. Tor Brahmagyane daud kotatuku dekchi. That means your Brahmagyana, there is a defect. It is not full. Not that it is not there. It is there, but there is some mistake you need to correct. And this remark brought Totapuri to his senses in two ways. First thing was, he was angry. Second thing was, he was not aware that he was angry. Then the third thing is, that point, until now Sri Ramakrishna pointed out that you have become angry and that is not Brahma Drishti. Just now you are saying everything is Brahman. And the moment you saw temple servant behaving in that way, an interesting thing is the temple servant is he thinking that I misbehaved? Was he having a wrong opinion that what I am doing is wrong thing? For him, fire is fire. But for Totapuri, it is sacred fire. What is sacred fire? What is non-sacred fire? Interesting, because supposing this Dhuni was in the Totapuri's hands. Suppose somebody is cooking food by his side and the temple servant went to take food. Would Totapuri have objected? That means he had this distinction. The fire which I am tending is sacred and the fire by which this cooking is being done is okay. It is unholy fire. Holy fire and unholy fire. That distinction is wrong for a Brahmagnani. This is the second point. But what he realized was why did I react in this way? I didn't want it, but as if some power made me do it. This is what we call Maya. Why did you do it? Because of Maya. There is some power of which I have no information, and Sri Ramakrishna seems to have that information. For the first time or so, Totapuri realized there is some power and I am not able to any knowledge about it. But he did not know. Now he at least recognized there is something, and what it is he did not know. It is to accept that knowledge. It took him 11 months to complete. Now he is ready. Then Divine Mother, you know the experience, revealed to him that whatever you achieved so far is because of me. Why? Because I am the body and I am the mind. You are thinking, you are the body and you are the mind, and you achieved everything because of your own efforts. That means what? Still that ahankara is still there. That ignorance was totally removed. Then when he closes his eyes, everything is Brahman. When he opens his eyes, everything is Brahman. But is there any difference? Yes, there is a difference. What is the difference? When he closes his eyes, it is Brahma. But when he opens his eyes, it is Shakti, not world. For us it is world, because we don't know it is Brahman. For him, it is Shakti. Shakti means that's what she used to call Divine Mother. That recognition that there is a special power which is making the whole world think that it is not God, for the first time, Totapuri had realized. And as soon as he realized, the next thing he did is surrender. I surrender myself because I am nothing. You are like a most powerful current. I am just like a small straw. Do you think the straw can resist the current of the stream? What a marvelous vision that he had. From that time onwards, Gadadhar was in this kind of ecstasy from time to time. He would forget himself and his surroundings when meditating or listening to songs, music, etc. in praise of gods and goddesses. So the reason for Gadadhar's aversion to being at school, we had already discussed, but I am just bring out very smallly. So far as Gadadhar's religious tendencies were concerned, he never developed a liking for book learning. When he saw the longing of learned scholars for worldly enjoyment and wealth, he became averse to acquiring knowledge like them. For his keen insight made him first ascertain the motives underlying all actions, and then judge their value by the standard of his father's good qualities like detachment from the world, devotion to God, truthfulness, righteous conduct, etc. differently. Here is a very important point, most important point. We all want to progress in spiritual life or even in worldly life, improve in worldly life. First thing is, how do we know that we need to improve? There must be some yardstick. What is the yardstick? If there were nobody besides me, will I ever know? Do you get the point that I am talking about? Suppose there is a person alone whole life. Will he know what is it called to be a great doctor, a great statesman, a great musician, a great anything? Will he ever know? He needs a comparison and say that I would like to be like this person. Every day of our life, we are comparing. If we are worldly persons, I want to be more worldly person like the other person. Means if anybody says I want more money, more power, etc., then there must be somebody to teach us that, oh, there is a position, there is a status which is very good. Even to know that destination, a goal, then we need somebody else. This is one. Secondly, how do we compare that we are attaining to that? How do we actually judge anything in this world? Such an interesting subject, I will give you a very ordinary example. Suppose you are given some food, 4 or 5 items of food. How do you judge the food is tasty or not? You must have tasted food, only then you know, in comparison with that, either this is tasty or not. That is the first point. Second point is, supposing you employed a cook, first day he cooks, suppose you employ cooks for your cooking. So you employed a cook for a long time, and he was an excellent cook, and you know how wonderfully he was preparing. Now suddenly that cook leaves. Now you employ another cook. First day he prepares. What is the first thing you do? You compare
Yes.
this person, how he cooks, with the previous cook, for good or bad, and say, maybe you come to this conclusion, no, this person's cooking is far worse. Eatable, but nothing beyond that. Okay. Then you say, Baba, you have to improve like that, you tell him or whatever, instruct him. And then, after say a month, he is preparing more or less same dishes. Now, are you in a position to judge how much that cook had progressed in his cooking capabilities? Yeah. Even to be able to judge, there must be somebody with whose cooking you have to compare notes. Is it not? Now, this is a silly example, but very practical example. Now, how do we know? Suppose you meet 10 persons. How do you know that this person is good, this person is better, this person is best, this person is worst, this person is bad? How we are all the time making these judgments, and our making friendships, our coming together is dependent upon this kind of judgments. How do you know? There must be somebody to compare. What was Gadadhar's? How was he comparing other people? What was his measuring yardstick? What was his yardstick? His mother and his father. His mother and his father. But here also you have to understand a most important point. Every child is naturally attached to his mother and father. So whatever his mother and father does is the final standard. Sri Ramakrishna was not like that. He was very intelligent to understand. I am just giving very interesting discussion. Suppose he found a more truthful person than his father, and if he were asked his opinion, who is a better person, what do you think he would have said? He would not say, because this is my father and I will judge him better person. He will not do that.
That's why he told Purno that obey your parents, but if they disturb you in your spiritual life,
you don't need to obey them. So it doesn't mean you disrespect, but you have to form your own conduct. So Sri Ramakrishna's father and mother were the highest evolutes so far as Sri Ramakrishna was concerned from the spiritual point of view. And he was judging everyone else according to that yardstick. Very interesting, because when we judge people, we can only judge according to our yardstick. And if we have nobody as an yardstick, then our judgments will be very foolish judgments. So when he saw the longing of learned scholars for worldly enjoyment and wealth, he became averse to acquiring knowledge like them. What is the point here? He was not averse to ordinary knowledge. He was averse for the motives which prompted them to acquire knowledge. How do we know? Because later on, he encouraged everybody to acquire as much knowledge as they can, his disciples. He never discouraged anybody, you should not have any of these things. And not only that, he even tried with Adbhutananda also, but only he didn't succeed, that's all. Deliberately, not accidentally. Deliberately he did not succeed. Keep an example. For God realization, spiritual progress, this academic education is not necessary. Then Gadadhar found that everybody is trying to get the certificates only to get more worldly, more bound. But Sri Ramakrishna understood clearly, whether you have worldly education or spiritual education, the ultimate goal is to get liberated from bondage called Maya. That was his standard. That is an important point for us. So for his keen insight made him first ascertain the motives underlying all action, and then judge their value by the standard of his father's good qualities like detachment from the world, devotion to God, truthfulness, righteous conduct, etc. What a marvelous vision. How fortunate that he had such kind of parents. What is the point here? Gadadhar's aversion for education is not education per se. It is the motivation He was, and most people's motivation is only education is a tool for more selfishness. That's what he said. The progress of Gadadhar's education, that he became proficient in reading books written in his mother tongue and in writing in that language. He can now read the Ramayana, the Mahabharata and other religious books with such devotion and in such a sweet voice that people were charmed to listen. The simple-hearted, unlettered villagers showed great respect, great love for this boy who could read, because when he was reading, first thing is his voice was beautiful. Second, he read with utmost sincerity, not to show off. That means he had no motives of acquiring name, fame, recognition or some reward. He was doing it for his own enjoyment rather than for other people's enjoyment. With the help of his extraordinary memory, the boy learnt by heart many of these stories on hearing them, and would sometimes himself copy any available manuscript or printed book containing them. We came to know this when we found, on investigation at the Kamarpukur house, the manuscript called Ramakrishna, just to make a little bit of fun. He started copying his own life, even at that age. You understand? Ramayana is the story of Rama. Krishnayana is the story of Krishna. Ramakrishnayana is the story of Ramakrishna. Yes, somebody must have written Ramakrishnayana and he copied it. The musical compositions on Yogadhya and Subahu etc. all copied by himself. And incidentally, recently we came across a manuscript of a copy by Kshudiram, his father. A small 1 or 2 pages. And that is now kept in our museum at Belur. Then, but this is the extent of Sri Ramakrishna's. He was quite good, you know. It is wrong to say he was totally unlettered. He could read very well. He could write also very well, copy. Later on he could neglected reading and other things because he was completely absorbed. First he was absorbed in sadhana, then he was absorbed in teaching what his experiences to all the devotees and monastic disciples, etc. He hardly had any time. But he used to listen also, if you remember. He used to ask Narendra, etc. to read out, and then he used to listen. And when he used to listen, he used to pay total attention to what he was reading. So that was there. Even Holy Mother could also scribble at one time. Later on, out of practice, so she could not even scribble her own name, etc. There is one incident mentioned, which was mentioned in the Jesus Christ life. So once after going to Jerusalem, his parents, Jesus Christ's parents were returning. Suddenly it was a huge crowd and they thought their son was with somebody else playing. But they found suddenly he was missing. So they went back and found out that he was arguing with the learned rabbis, and they were all surprised how he could solve their scholarly dispute. A similar incident happened at Kamarpukur. There was, on some occasion, there was a Pandit's meeting, and in that meeting a dispute arose. And this young boy, an intricate Indian philosophy, they were all disputing, grown-up people, slowly crawled near one elderly man. He must be knowing all of them, and said, could this be the solution for this problem? And immediately that man understood. And he called the attention of all the others, said, this boy says, this could be the solution. And everybody was astounded that what they could not come to a proper decision, right understanding, this small boy, he could do that. This is a kind of miracle. Oh, because, they're monotonous. They have the same script, only they change some names and these things and repeat the same things. What Krishna did, he also did. What Rama did, he also did. Like that is all same. More or less it is same, slightly. Very briefly I mentioned the marriages of Rameshwar and Sarvamangala. Sarvamangala was the sister of, both were married. Then what happened? Ramkumar's wife, Ramkumar was married. And Ramkumar didn't have any children for a long time. But Ramkumar knew as an astrologer that the moment she gives birth, she will die. So he was happy in one way that it would not cause his wife's death. But he was unhappy because every householder longs for a child. After a long time, she conceived and he became totally... Who was that child? Akshay. So his wife gave birth and she became pregnant. The moment she became pregnant, very interesting thing happened. This Ram Kumar, before marriage, the family was poor. The moment he married and this wife came into the household, prosperity came. So they became very indulgent, whatever she was doing. It was going on. But the moment she became pregnant, her whole behavior changed. She wants to eat at any time with offering to God. There were strict rules. Without first offering to God, nothing should be tasted. But she overrode all those things and she was behaving as she liked. That created a lot of unhappiness. And then Ram Kumar's wife broke these all rules and turned a deaf ear to the objections raised by other members of the family who were afraid of that evil might befall them. She picked quarrels with everyone in the family and over trifles, thereby creating ill feeling. This is the first thing after she became pregnant. The second thing that happened was the family started experiencing misfortune, financial difficulties. As soon as she became pregnant, conceived. Ram Kumar's brother, Rameshwar, good man, but not good at earning money, though he had sufficient learning. While the number of persons in the family increased, there was a decrease in the income, and its former comfortable existence came to an end. Ram Kumar's wife, having given birth, delivering a son, she died. These are the important events that had happened. Now these events have put a stop to the first part of Gadadhar's life, Ramakrishna's life. Because from now onwards, because of the financial strain, is a preparation for the Sri Ramakrishna's second part of his Leela. Sri Ramakrishna's life can be divided into three parts. The first part was until now. The second part was slowly he had to move to Calcutta along with his brother, and then slowly this temple drama will start. We will discuss about it. And then his eldest brother became the priest and he was forced to live at Dakshineswar. 3 months after that, he had to accept the job as a priest, and all these changes have taken place. Then as soon as he became priest, an unbelievable change came over him. He was as if he were completely possessed, and he was, as it were, he wanted to live an ordinary life like his father, keeping those ideals. This very important point again, he was judging everybody by his father's standard. Naturally, what would you think that he would like to become? Exactly like his father. His father, his mother were his highest ideals. And when we are talking about the blueprint for life, how a person should behave, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Indirectly, what does it mean? That you follow the footsteps of how your father used to conduct his life, your mother used to conduct your life, and your teacher used to conduct his life. That should be an ideal for you to follow on. Not merely outlook, how to look upon them, but also to imitate if they are noble people, and usually they were very noble people, strict people. Okay, here, what was the second part of his life? He had to come to Kolkata, and by the time the drama was going on, Rani Rasmani, we will discuss about it, she had to build a temple, and that temple was built for whom? For Rani Rasmani, or for other people, or for Sri Ramakrishna sadhana. Sri Ramakrishna, like Kurukshetra was prepared for whom? For Sri Krishna's delivery of the Bhagavad Gita, and Dharma Samsthapana and Adharma Nashana. Both. When Swami Vivekananda, when he was at Girnar, he met his boys, Turiyananji and Brahmananji, and he heard that the Parliament of Religions was going on. You know what he predicted? Said, that is being prepared for this. When he said for this, what did he mean? For Sri Ramakrishna. Remember, Sri Ramakrishna, before his passing away, he completely gave over everything to Swamiji, and then he said, Narayan, today I have become fakir. I have given everything to you. That means given means what? I entered into you. From today, you are not you. You are me. I will work. That's what Swami Vivekananda always meant. The second part of Sri Ramakrishna Leela is he has to enter into the temple and he has to do the sadhana, and not sadhana, various types of sadhanas, and establish a living parliament of religions at Dakshineshwar. That is the second part. As soon as that part is over, the third part starts. What is the third part? Training future disciples who would carry out his message to the whole world. That is the third part. There is a fourth part, and that fourth part is to establish an organization which would carry on his message for a long time. The Ramakrishna order. When Swami Shivanandaji was asked, who established the Ramakrishna order? Swami Shivanandaji said, it is not Swami Vivekananda. It was Sri Ramakrishna himself during his last 2 days. He used to close his doors and everything and didn't allow anybody to enter excepting Narendranath, and he instructed him how to start a monastic organization, how to run it, what are its aims, everything, detailed instructions he had given. That was the fourth part of Sri Ramakrishna's mission. So preparation, sadhana, dissemination of the ideas, and establishment of a monastic order for the dissemination of his ideas in the future for a long time. This was what he did. This story, with the story of Rameshwar, practically the first part of Sri Ramakrishna's life came to an end. But there is, before he leaves the village, a few points are there. How his relationship with the villagers, his relationship with the young women, and this is a very important part, neglected part, and we are not supposed to discuss too much about it, but most important, Sri Krishna had played a special relationship in his life in Vrindavan with the gopis. And a lot of Hindus also misunderstand. It was a most unacceptable, immoral type of behavior. That how could stupid people understand when he was not even 12 years old, how could he behave so immorally? He must be an extraordinary person to behave like that. And with so many gopis, everybody loved him. Anyway, we will discuss those points in our next class. Week